Welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're live on Project Cars 2 for the Pagnian Imports V8 Supercar Championship. Tonight we have round 4 and we're at Sonoma Raceway GP. And we'll check out tonight's session. So we've got the two divisions running. We're heading off into Division 2 first. We've got 15 minutes of qualifying. Weather is light cloud, then the race is 20 laps. Weather will progress from light cloud through to clear with a mandatory pit. Then we'll have a break and head back and get ready to go again at 8:45 p.m. with Division 1, where they've got the same conditions, 15 minutes of qualifying and 20 laps for the race. So we'll check out the standings for Division 2. After the third round, we've got Balaki G88 leading the championship with 386 points. Spray and Pray not too far behind, only chasing by 30 points with 356. We'll look at Division 1. We've got Sami leading the championship. He's got 393 points. That's giving him a pretty strong lead over DK Rush, but the rest of those standings are very close. Last week for round 3, we were at Silverstone International. For the race in Division 2, we had Blakey take the victory after qualifying second and secured the fastest lap bonus points. And then for Division 1, we had a clean sweep by Sami, taking pole, victory, and that fastest lap bonus points. So well done there to Sami. We'll check out the track. So in the USA, track length is 4.05 kilometers. There's 19 turns, and the in-game session time is 10 a.m. So we're in cool attempts for the morning part of the race. We've got 11 cars, so a few more joining the session that weren't able to join us last week. And thanks for jumping on the stream. For any of our new viewers that haven't done so yet, do hit that follow button so you can be notified when we go live with Project Cars 2 every Thursday night, and then also iRacing on Monday nights. Plenty of V8s on at the moment. Jurassic Jam, thanks for jumping on the stream, and Gallant. Don't forget to use those sound effects controls down underneath the stream, where you can cheer on and applaud the drivers as the race unfolds. Drivers getting out on the track already. Make our way through the list. We have Pureboy, Jack and Zed having a few issues there. There was actually a little bit of lag showing. The holographic trick. Simzel. Also Tyjo. Steph as well. Had some PBs last week. Just like to this tonight's race, see if she can get some more PBs. Balaki, our championship leader. And they're looking to try and get a very strong outcome tonight. Ready to head into the final round next week for Baptist Mount Panorama. That's where the big points are at. So there's 240 points on the line next week for a win. So it's double that what they earn for the races through the rest of the rounds. So 120 points up for grabs tonight for the win. Mr. D-Train. Quite a mouthful there for PSN, but known as Hypes. Just run off one of the early corners, and he's taken some damage. Dan Boone. What a power slide through the exit of that corner. That's just actually invalidated his lap for that one. So he's just brought the car back. And we've got spray and pray. He's very close in those championship points with Balaki. You have to make sure he stays as close to Balaki as possible for the race. And even try and qualify much higher. Every point's going to count here with how close they are, even coming down to those fastest lap bonus points. There we go. First time's coming through. Couple of 127 straight off the mark. That's Taijo and Balaki. Both setting that lap and quickly bringing the car back in. That is a very fast time for opening lap. He's only just over 1/10 away from Taijo's time. D-Train's first time of 1:32.8. Yeah, Galen and the guys were mentioning that Taijo's got the world record time in the lobby before, so we're going to be seeing some phenomenal pace out of Taijo tonight. We have seen world records being broken under race conditions as well. It'll be interesting to see what he can get out of this V8 Supercar tonight. A little jittery at the moment. Looks like he's a few little lag skips. Taijo and Balaki still in, being the only drivers scoring a 127, both in the low end. The Jack in with a 128.1 is not far off from breaking into that 127 margin. Bumped D-Train down. D-Train was in third, that was with a 132, he's improved on that, he's got a 130. Spray's also snuck in. Heading on 129. We've got Stefan, the graphic, qualifying in 132s. Dan, thanks for jumping on the stream. We're looking forward to see you jump into the GT3s. There's 8 minutes remaining now. NZ Jack's come through with a 127. He's 2/10 off the pole time. These are getting very close these times. Jump on. Oh no, look at these. Taijo's just broad that gap now, got it down to almost a 125 during a 126.020. That's now 1.4 seconds ahead of Balaki's time. Oh boy, causing some visual damage to that car. appearing to have almost actually ran wide through the corner. The car did actually slide back on across. I think that was a genuine off there. Crackle on Balaki. He backs off that throttle going down the hill. We'll jump on board for a lap in a moment. There's a very technical track. Actually, in a more torquey car. Maybe coming up close to starting a lap. He's carrying a huge amount of pace here. Hopefully it's not a one lap setup here. 1 point off, best pace there. It's going to slightly throw him off. I think it's Dan Boone that's just come out. No, it hasn't done too bad. No, it has really put him off that line. Now we got Jack coming up onto a lap, so we don't throw the old commentator's curse and cause it off for him. Turn one, and a lot of crest on these next few corners can really throw that car off. A cambered corner with a crest, putting that throttle on. Once you go over the top, school that rear up. Just feathering the throttle as they go down around the carousel and down the mountain. As much speed as you can all the way out to that exit curve without pushing it out. Going too far, put that car right out to a spin. Tricky, very long hairpin, double right-hander. Curb to curb on this slalom down through the back straight. Speed, get as close to that curb. Trying to keep it flat as you go all the way through to carry that speed. Just try and pull it up for that very difficult final corner and that hairpin. Hugging that tyre wall to the left, going down pitch straight, out scraping it. Taijo, only 3 tenths off his best time. Not jinxing him there, he's stolen Balaki's position too. 127.261. Joe really dropped off pace there. This may have been an outlapse and he's looking to really try and line this lap up. I think he may be spacing the car ahead. Flat stick now. And Boone's moved up into 5th. No, that lap just got him into 4th. Frame Prey now knocked down. Well, I think that may have been Hypes just ahead of him. Must have just come out of pit lane. I'll invalidate his lap there. He may have just enough time to be able to get back that car back out on track for another lap. Just to be able to get one more time to lap in. Train been holding a steady position in the qualifying. He's been improving his lap times at the same margin as others have. Oh, and he's just scraped that tyre wall. Doesn't take much. That's gonna do his qualifying session now. Only 1 minute remaining. It's enough time to get another time to lap in. So close to just finishing that lap up. Been very frustrated if that was going to be up on his best time as well. He was qualified in with 129.6. Out of the 11 drivers, we've got 8.6 seconds separating them. And I think Pagnian's just had an off as well. So that's invalidated his final lap. He's quickly making his way back out on track. We'll need to go and find a nice spot to park up and do a burnout for us all. There we are, qualifying now complete. 100 seconds to be able to finish up the last laps. Joe looks to be holding that pole position. 25 points coming his way for a pole. And tonight we are still supporting Veteran Gaming Australia. You're seeing all that up on the screen. As part of the Anzac Day, we decided to support Veteran Gaming Australia, who's working towards improving the lives of veterans through the fun of gaming. It's not just video games, it's face-to-face. All the stuff. There we go, we've got Blakey doing his burnout for us. We got him on camera. But do check out their website. You can actually contribute to be able to help them with their mission of supporting all current and ex-serving veterans. It's a shame we don't get the ability that we did from iRacing to be able to customise these cars with some lovely paints that we saw that the drivers doing. And there we are. Qualifying now complete. Kaijo taking pole position for round 4. And then the rest of the grid we have NZ Jack, Balaki, Spray and Parade, Coolboy, Steph, D-Train, Simo Simzel, Holographic Trick, and Hypes. We'll jump over onto the grid now. If we do have any veterans watching the stream, or if you've got loved ones that are veterans and then maybe interested in joining up with Veteran Gaming Australia, you can head over to the website veterangamingaustralia.com.au and then find out how to get involved in their activities. And then of course do head over and check out the donate page as well and just see what your valuable donation can actually contribute to. They've managed to be able to put in some great facilities for veterans in some clubs for them to be able to have little gaming facilities so they can get together and then take out some of those stresses through the common love of games. We can get a more zoomed out shot for the start of the race. I don't think Then he gets that joy. Hey Phil, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for jumping on the stream. Oh, that's awesome. Shout out to your father, served in the Korean War. Yes, definitely. Shout out to your father. There we are. Well, about to go green with Tygo, pushing that car forward. But Jack gets a pretty good run off him from the lights. Oh, there's a bit of contact at the back. I think it's D-Train and Bullboy. I've seen Bullboy drop down towards the back. Like he got a little bit loose. Off from the grid start. Tajo already flying ahead. Starting to put a nice gap over Jack. Like he's hanging on tight. As he spray and pray. These two strongly contesting for the championship. You have to ensure that they are as close to each other as possible. One of them gets a significant lead in tonight's results. He's going to have that advantage heading into the final round next week. Tajo comes up to the final corner for the first lap, nearly setting 1 second gap between himself and Jack. And Jack also now spacing Blakey for the last half of the lap. Now got a second between first, second and third. Closing in on spray and pray. Graphic locks up. The D-Train's taken some hefty damage. Bullboy's car looking somewhat unscathed from it all. Stroke pipes might have been caught up in that as well. And it's taken a post-race time penalty. Exceeded track limit somewhere. How tight they are at the moment between each other. Probably wasn't going to be worth going for the slowdown, but just take a second penalty on the chin. Let's hope by the time it comes towards the back end of the race, you've got enough gap that it's not going to cost you a position. We've seen some pretty tight races where only just a second has cost a position. But it's a bit of a gamble when you get that request. Tajo still flying out ahead. Only push that gap out to 2 seconds. He can squeeze out just a little bit more. He's going to be washing off that slipstream for Jack. Especially if you're quicker through the more windy section, you're not going to be getting as much of the slipstream. Pump some big pace down that sector. Very tight line for that hairpin. 2.2 seconds now, the gap. About 1.5 seconds between Jack in P2 and Balaki in P3. Championship-wise, it's not going to be too bad for Balaki to be able to be finishing behind Taijo or Jack. They've missed some rounds, so that Taijo's sitting in 8th position and Jack in 11th. Main focus for Balaki should be at least just getting on that podium. Ray still unable to shake Dan Boone. Dan Boone had actually been a few seconds slower each lap, but seemingly catching Spray over the first couple of sectors. The Spray again maybe a bit fast in sector 3, pulls away from Dan a little bit. That last lap before, Dan did do 2 temps quicker than Spray. Starting to rein that in. And half a second lower that lap. Looks like Spray might have actually even been fighting by a slowdown. It seems to have dropped a lot of pace going along the pit straight. It's only a few seconds away from Dan and Spray, which is sitting nicely in 6th position. A 5-second gap between herself and Simo. Well, Spray's just been passed by Dan. I think he's made an error. Looks like similar thing for Jack as he's dropped back to 9.8 seconds away from race lead, and having Balaki move up into position 2. Not sure if he's taken any damage. Looks to be alright. No one's in the pits. Boy, just being released. Here's some wheel spin. Get that lap. Costly to Spray. That was a 32.6. Dan's 30.8. Those lap times out front. What that last lap of 128.5 by Taijo. Some nice quick laps. That's with a full load of fuel. So he's running much lighter in the qualifying setup. Be interesting just to see what he can get out of this car towards that back end. The car starts to get a little bit lighter. Those track temperatures start to increase as the race goes on. Weather conditions changing through for clear. The race started at an in-game time of 11 AM. Time progression is ×2. As we progress through about 35 minutes of racing, we'll simulate just over an hour. Back end of the race will be approaching midday with clear conditions. Those track temps are going to be nice and warm. Considering the amount of damage that D-Train took, I don't think he'd been in car into the pits. He's battling on that damaged car. Lucky in P2. And about a 4-second gap between himself and Jack. Graphic into the pits now. And getting close to that halfway point, we may see a couple more cars decide to head on into the pits. And then starting to put a good gap between himself and Spray. Got about 4-second gap now. Let's bring up timing to see what those penalties are. Dan Bean's got 1 second time penalty. Simo Simsel's wearing 2 seconds. Race leader Tyjo getting some pretty consistent 128s. Larky and Jack doing 129s, low 129s. Larky's about a tenth quicker a lap at this stage. In high distance of Jack. He's got him in his sights to try and track down. This lap he seems to have made up a bit of time. Gap starting to shrink a little. Dropped a position as well. She was up in 6th, ahead of Simo. And now taking that spot. About 8-second gap. May have been an off-track for Steph. On Spray, bring the car into the pits now. He is on approach to lap 10, so we reached the halfway point now. So Steph heads into the pits. Right, getting service now. There's Simo moves up into 5th position. He's got 18 seconds between himself and Dan. Ray now back out on track. I'm back in 6th position. Just finishing up now. It's quite a lengthy journey down pit lane as well. The entrance is just before the hairpin. That goes all the way out towards the end of turn 1. Having pit. That's Hypes also in pit lane. They're actually having to go around the corner to get his pit stop. Lucky coming up to some lap traffic now. That's Steph's car. That's position 7. Now making his way around. Pipes has gone off and Coolboy's just gone off as well. Narrowly avoiding Hypes, who was pulled up along that inside. Yeah, Jurassic Jam that is. That Predator style outfits for the pit crews. It is always amusing. That's what goes on with the pit crews in this game. Good that we actually do see some animations of them running out to the car. It's something we miss seeing in iRacing. The your own car where they have the engineer drop the pole down for your stop. Sitting over the fence, that's about it. You don't see it on the streams, unfortunately. It's only just individual to the drivers. You don't see each other's crew. Ray and Dan very close now. After having both been into the pits, they'll be racing for position. IJ and Balaki in both pit. IJ's got a nice gap in between himself and Balaki, so he should be underway. There he goes. Still maintaining that lead from that nice gap he had on the race. Already pit, Blarky's going to have to try and get out of pit lane before Jack makes his way around. I think there's more than enough time for it. And Blarky now on that pit exit, so he's released that pit limiter, and out he goes back into the race in position 2. Holds a 6-second lead over Jack. Hydro having a lengthy stop. That's costing some time in the pits. Mikey currently 5 seconds away from Tyjo. Looks like Graphics taken a post-race time penalty as well. Yeah, Jurassic, definitely Gran Turismo's hit animations are pretty spot on. They do look good. It's a bit of a visual masterpiece. The standings as of lap 14. These drivers a few laps down, so we've got Good Boy in 11th, Pipes in 10th position. The graphic, which will bring up, I'm not sure if it shows on the screen. It's not far off down, 1 second time penalty going to holographic. Taijo also copping one when just looking at that. G-Train in 8th position. Taijo just making his way around. Flag out for G-Train. The race lead through. F in P7. And Simo in P6. Oh, Dan Boone's had an off. Oh, he's just pulled it up trying to get back onto the track. I think he may have taken some damage. Not sure if that's just showing on my screen. He definitely has some damage showing on the screen. A little more damage on mine. That was favourable for Spray and Pray. He's managed to be able to get that position back to jump into 4th again. He's a fair way from the front of the pack now. He's 12 seconds away from NZ Jack. Currently in P3. He's about 7 seconds behind Balaki. The race, it did look like Taijo and Jack were both going to actually start really pulling ahead. Balaki managed to really hold on after an error with Jack. Took that P2 and he's really closing in on Taijo now. Like his last lap at 128.2. Taijo's got down to the 127s now. Yeah, he's still dropping a little. Harrow, thanks for jumping on the street. Cool Boy's gone off at the hairpin. Like he's made heavy contact with that tyre wall. Local yellow. Couple corners before. Who that might have been behind him, it may have just gone off a little. Holographics front bar flapping a little. This has taken some damage. The car not steering too well. All those in the chat, so DJ Harrow is the founder for Veteran Gaming Australia, who we're raising awareness for this week with our races from Monday night and Thursday being tonight, and then raising money to go towards the cause for all the great work they do for our veterans. Say hello to Harrow, and then also don't forget to jump over to their website, check them out, and definitely make a donation to their foundation. Great cause to get behind. That's at Veteran Gaming Australia. esportsaustralia.com.au/donate. We've got Jack dropping off more from Balaki. Balaki 3/10 quicker. He's now got only 7-second lead. He has dropped back from Taijo. I think it may have just been those out laps. Taijo holding off probably with some fresh rubber. They're a little bit cool. Car a little bit slippery. Around that back corner. Balaki having a solid race. Taijo is pretty good for their positions with coming on to the 18th lap now. Goal now for Sprays just to try and hold position 4. He's got a nice safety net between himself and Dan. He's got a 16-second gap. He's got a fair bit to chase down Jack. But he doesn't need to beat Jack in points. Jack being absent a couple of rounds. Main competition for that championship is Balaki. About 20 points difference between Balaki and Spray and Pray, finishing in 2nd and 4th. Balaki's already got a 30-point lead on the championship. That's still going to be well and truly close coming into the final round where it's a big point, so it's double that of our usual races. He did have a great result in qualifying as well, so getting a few extra points. Assuming it will be seeing the bonus points to the fastest lap of the race. Likely to go to Taijo, just what we're seeing him put down now. He's almost down into that 126 margin from lap 19. This time around we'll see the white flag. Beat up, so there's some damage to the windscreen. Oh, solid hit. Actually bounced the car out. I think it may have actually been almost a flag skip. It looked like he went into the wobble and then it jumped the car out to the side. Is that a clipping issue going on? He's only got to take that wounded car around one more time. So this is the final lap. Taijo's our race leader. He's had a solid race. Getting some Fantastic qualifying times. Takes the lead. And then shoots off the head, putting 1 second just about every lap from the start. Now push that gap out to 12 seconds between himself and position 2. Going on to the home approach now, ready to get the checkered flag. What a drive by Taijo. And lets out race winner through. And he's done, takes the top of the podium. Victory for Taijo, congratulations. Lucky, gonna be impressed with that. Position 2, fantastic result. Jack takes the podium as well in P3. Seconds to get the last laps done. Bray brings it home, finishing 4th. And then finishing up with winter cover. Someone's gone off in the hairpin in the last lap. This car that was. Dan puts the car into a roll across the line. There we have all drivers finish the Division 2 race in round 4. Taijo, our winner, and then also securing the fastest lap of the race, a 1:26.9. So a very nice quick lap. And then also on the podium we have Balaki in position 2 and Enza Jack in position 3. Then in the rest of the standings we have his Spray and Pray, Dan Boone, Steph, Simo Simsel, D-Train, Hypes, Holographic and Coolboy. Getting our podium finishes into the chat in a moment, so bear with me as I add them in. The invite's gone off to the drivers. They'll be joining in a moment. If you do have any comments or questions you want to throw to our podium finishers, I can relay them from the chat to them. And they're making their way in now. And congratulations, Taijo, what a drive.
Oh, thank you. That was not easy with the back markers and the tires that were going off in the first stint, but yeah, that really hurt my fingers there, driving on the controller.
Oh, you did that on a controller too?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, phenomenal to be able to be world record holder for lap time and then be getting nearly similar times in the race and qualifying, so well done.
Thank you.
And Balaki, congratulations, P2.
Yeah, thanks. It was a tough race.
I see.
Taijo too fast again.
Yeah, it's
Unbelievable.
pretty hard to try and chase that down. He was gapping everyone pretty quick.
You're lucky I couldn't make it last week.
Especially on the controller, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then yeah, got a nice little win there to get around Jack, and then held off in position 2. So well done.
Yeah, thanks. If it wasn't for that spin, it would have been P3, but oh well.
Congrats, and well done, Jack, on the podium, position 3.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy, but a bit disappointed in myself for that spin because I felt the car was good and we could have had a fight for P2. But you know, that's some things I've got to work on. but no, congrats to the other guys, and it was a good race.
Kept me very sensible there in the first 3 turns.
Yes,
Nearly shot myself.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, solid effort, guys. A good race from all three and all our drivers as well. So it's not an easy track as it is. And we'll be doing it around the V8, and especially on the controller, Tyjo. I was not aware of that. So yeah, kudos to you.
Big round of applause.
Yeah,
That's
that
good.
is very definite worthy of an applause for that. So yeah, well done. Congrats, guys, and look forward to seeing you all battle it out at the mountain next week with the big points on the line.
Can't
Thank
wait.
you.
Yeah, hope to make it.
Yeah, hopefully we see you there. Congrats, guys.
Thank you.
Quick shout out
Thank
to
you.
Sally Engineering again.
Yes,
Set up.
definitely is.
Great team.
Yeah, Gal is in there saying well done for Sally Engineering in the chat, so yeah, congrats guys. There we have our podium finishes. Tyjo taking the win, Balaki in P2 and NZ Jack in P3. So then we will be having a short break and then we'll be back again at about 8:45 with Division 1, and they'll be heading off for 15 minutes of qualifying at Sonoma and then also 20 laps, all the same conditions. So do stay tuned and we'll be back with some more V8 action for Division 1. And welcome back for session 2. So we're heading over into Division 1's qualifying and race. So we're at Sonoma Raceway GP for round 4. The track length is 4.05 kilometers with 19 turns. The qualifying session is starting at 10 a.m. Weather conditions are light cloud, and then we should be seeing some fantastic racing, just as we did for Division 2. There's been some great pace being put down, so can Division 1 follow suit? Also, 11 drivers in the session, and we may see some connection issues for Pretender. So we're seeing some similar dramas that he's had in the past with some technical, very weird stuff going on where he's actually clashing with IPs of other drivers, and it will actually drop him out. Trying to do some troubleshooting. And there goes a disconnect. And a reconnection of someone. I think Pretender's pulling up to bring that car in. I think we may have just had where we seem to have tracked it down that there may be connection crash between Guerrero and Pretender. Rejoin the session in a moment. We'll make our way free loose. So we have Coco Job. Rooney already putting some big pace down in the FG. A little bit slippery. We've got the head farmer. And Mickliffe. Go. So we're getting Tender and Wirra clashing at the moment. We've got Doggy Daddy. Vortex. Here we go. Wirra's made in, so we now got 13. The session. Hopefully the connection issues are resolved. Be good if we can see all 13 be able to battle it out for the 20 laps around Sonoma. And Sami, our championship leader, starting to put a nice gap on the championship lead over DK Rush. On 393 points, DK on 271, and then it's pretty close from then on down the list. Nick Cliff in third. Oh, there's a disconnect. Who we just lost? I think we've lost two. It was Guerra and Pretender at the exact same time. For some reason, game servers not liking if there are two of the same IPs. Apparently some networks providers will actually double up on some IPs and having all sorts of issues, and even actually changing internet provider to try and fix it when it did seem to resolve it for a while, but it seemed to have popped its way back into causing problems for him. And we have DK Rush trying to chase that championship from Sami. Covered is Gallon and Dirty Monkey. And Philly's just taken pole, a 126.577. have Doggy Daddy. His car's changed each time he's loaded back into the session, strangely enough as well. But everyone, I'm not sure, covered head farmer. Disconnect again. Sure, just lost then. We're having all sorts of issues now. And we're in and out of a server. Sami's taken that pole position. 126.2, park the car up. If you are just joining us for the stream, do hit that follow button. We thank you for all the support we're getting for Apex eSports League. Last look, we're about to break that 230 mark, if not already. We had some fantastic growth in the follow department these last couple of months. It's great to see all the support. What a save from Gallen. And that elbow down that back straight. Gallen qualifying in second for 127. You do jump into the chat as well. Let us know who you're here to cheer on. And then use those sound effects controls to be able to support your drivers. That way you can throw a cheer, applaud, and some other fun sound effects as well. Hey Steph, thanks for jumping on. Let's go Sally Engineering. Seems to be doing rather well. And some fantastic lap times being done. Let's leave that map up so I can actually try and track connection issues. There's connection issues for Philly, so he actually disconnected because he did set a nice time up the front. He's had the re-jump back in, as has Pretender. And 126.2 and a very nice time by Sami. And so, very quick lap being done in Division 2. It was a very low 126, nearly breaking into that margin. That is by the current time trial record holder, which is Chijo. We're back in, hopefully. Tender and we're no longer keep clashing. I'll jump on board for a lap with Sami. Make sure he's not going to be. He's going to have enough fuel to be able to do this. We'll jump on our championship lead up. A little bit slippery through the hairpin. Oh, again. Sami gets down to a very low 126 on that lap, carrying a nice amount of speed. Vortex has got himself a grid place penalty. That's one position he's gained. Slippery for Sami. He's down. Carousel going slightly off his best time. It's not going to take much to try and recover. You have a cracker in the next sector. It's 5 minutes 30 remaining. Hopefully we're Pretenders connection issues are gone. We're going to miss the start of the race. Here we go. That .060. It's enough to break down into the 125 margin as he holds off on this final corners. Himself out by clicking that wall. You got to get as close as you can. Look at that, he breaks it. That's only 2 temps up of 125.878. What a time. That's 1.1 away from Gallen, qualifying in position 2 for 126.9. Joining in, it's Pretender. BK is qualified third for 127. We've got a few drivers in that 127 bracket. Poker Dog, Cliff, and Vortex. Times got him position 6, but he's going to be wearing a grid place penalty. He's going to take one more position, speeding through pit lane. The connection issues, Pretender and Philly cutting it very fine to get a good lap in. So he's going to have to get that car back out on track super quick here. Otherwise it's going to not be getting him enough time to be able to set a timed lap. Oh, Rooney, that's just invalidated that lap. Doesn't take much to be able to actually clip that curb. And that little elbow around that straight coming down into the final hairpin, and that will invalidate your lap time. That's likely to probably even invalidate the next, even though you're not going to be having too much of a speed advantage coming down through the hairpin, as you've got to drop all that pace off anyway. The game usually invalidates the next following lap as well to exceed track limits in those last couple of corners. That's Rooney's car. It's pretty battered. It'll just be residual visual damage. For all our viewers just joining us, part of tonight's race, we are following on from our charity run from our Anzac Day race on iRacing, bringing across onto the Project Cars 2 platform. So we are supporting Veteran Gaming Australia, trying to raise awareness for the support that they give for our veterans, both current and ex-serving veterans. Head over to their website and check out what it is that they do with their programs in trying to help veterans with mental health and socialising. All through the love of gaming. And all of us as avid gamers just know how much being completely away from each other on opposite sides of the globe. That's done it for Gallen. I think that may have been intentional though. He's found the skid pad in the middle. Disconnect as well. Rouge joined. I don't think he's managed to get into the session. Sami's up on this lap again. We're saying we can be so much closer through online gaming. No matter where you're on that globe, we come together with like-minded people. We've got some great friendships just within all our members of the league. And we can be so vastly away from each other, but regularly in contact, even more so than some of our actually even close physical friends. Just because they may not have those same interests, and we all come together, unites the week to practice and setups. Pipes. No worries. Pipes. Cheers. I think it should be a good stream. We'll be there for you to check out tomorrow. Army brings that car in. There's only 48 seconds remaining to get the last laps done. Oh, Coco doesn't invalidate his time. So much pace as he hit that curb. Let's improve his time. Ooh, Vortex actually improved his position up into position 2, which is going to be handy for that grid place penalty. We have Sami taking pole position for 1:25.87, a spectacular time, and then Vortex qualifying second, but that grid place penalty bumps him down into P3, so Gallen will be starting from position 2, and then the rest of the grid will be Philly, DK, Rush, Coco Dog, Nickcliffe, Head Farmer, Dirty Monkey, Pretender, Doggy Daddy, and with Peter Loss, we're unfortunately to be able to make the start. I'm not sure if Pretender will be able to last off with those technical issues still. He still was suffering those disconnects. I think we missed someone else as well. We head over now to the grid. The driver's got a couple of minutes just to get ready for the race. It's crucial they get their setup and their pit strategy all locked in and even double checked. Races thrown all due to errors of those pit strategies being set incorrectly. Game's fantastic for unmarking, even if you've just been in and set things as default ready to go from the qualifying session, and you'll actually see it in that ready screen as being the one. But then once you brew it up, you'll soon find out that that's actually not the case. It's very disappointing when that happens, as it can basically throw your race completely before it's even started. We've definitely seen races won and lost all from the pit stop. Brilliant start for Sami. Gallen bogged down a little bit, so he's now got Philly right up the tail. A little bit of rubbing going on down towards the back there. I think it's Coco Dog and Philly. Okay, now right on his tail. He's flying out ahead. Gallon locks in tight between Vortex and Philly. There'll be no room for error as they come down the mountain. Takes a very tight line, a little bit of oversteer. Dummy putting 2 seconds on already, only half a lap in. Got an opening lap. Gallon putting huge pressure on Vortex. No room between Philly and Gallon at all. Looks like he's going to try and go for a move around the hairpin. It might be interesting. Oh, a tiny tap from Coco. He's free, only leaving less than an inch between them as they go through that hairpin. Palmer's now got Pretender right on his tail. Dirty Monkey's gone off at the top of the hill. As did Doggy Daddy by the looks of it. Pressure being put on the Gallon from Philly. Getting hot tight on his tail and already probing some openings. Starting to test those mirrors. Gallon also trying to keep off the tail of Vortex. I think Philly's just ran off wide. Allowed Coco to get through. Could have gone a lot worse. That would have been a spin and would have drifted out into that wall. Lost position, not too bad. They're now starting to pull away from Mick Cliff. They've got about 2 seconds ahead of him. Ed Palmer's managed to hold off Pretender. I think it's Rooney that's ended up suffering disconnect towards the back end of that qualifying. That's two of the other drivers that were missing. Doggy Daddy runs off at the same spot. BK has taken some damage. Seen drop down into 11th position. It's not going to bode well for him. Trying to hold that position 2 spot for the championship. He's quickly got the rest of them on his tail. Gallon's only a few points away. And even Vortex only marginally away from that. Big opportunity for Vortex and Gallon here to take the number 3 spot. Sorry, number 2. Okay, looking to cover some positions here with the wounded car. Go for an outside line to get around Doggy. Moving only inches between the two. Army now on lap 4. Last lap of 128.3. He's flying ahead. 6.2 second lead over Vortex now. Something's going on with Gallen as well. He's taken some damage. Vortex has moved up in the P2. Not sure if there may have been some car contact or if he's just misjudged. And that bar flapping quite wildly. It's DK through. I think he's heading into the pits. Frustrating. Clip P5, Billy P4. Beko's running third. A little bit of slip from Coco. Really pushing this car to the limits. About a second ahead of Coco. They're quickly falling behind our race lead, Sami. Nearly been pushed out to 8 seconds. Getting a bit of a closer gap now between himself and Coco. Got a tenth quicker than the previous lap. Looks like he's made up a fair bit of ground over the course of that sector. Coco's going to be fairly occupied trying to look for a way around Vortex. He's got a huge amount of pace. I think he's going to go for a move. Dives down through the hairpin, holds it. What a move. Is a double pass. Philly also jumps in to go for it as well. Not quite enough to get the two of them around. He did commit to the move. Not the easiest corner to pull off the nice clean pass. When you can really get it, it's a spectacular move. Driving there by Coco. Takes me under some pressure from Philly. Army furthering that gap. A bit lonely out there in his own now. Gives himself an open track ahead and behind. Cars within sight. seconds behind position 10. Having been in a pit, going to make up a few positions quite easily. From the time that the cars ahead start to pit in, we're starting to see some others now heading. Oh, Mick's got some damage. Heavily scuffed up the side. That bonnet heavily buckled. Appear to be too hard a hit, hasn't damaged the windscreen. Predator style outfits for the pit crew there. Vortex drops to Philly. Tender's up into 5th position. Looks like he's just gotten around Dirty Monkey. Dirty's holding on. There's the Head Farmer and Dirty Monkey battling out before. Head Farmer appears to have dropped back a fair bit. Now 5 seconds behind, so he's probably made an error. Not taken any damage by the looks of things. Starting to drop back away from Tender a little. Jack's really trying to hold on to Philly. There's a few attempts slower last lap. Philly appears to be really flying ahead. Cliff and a lengthy stop, tending to that damage. Doggy Daddy also in the pits at the moment. Coco Dog's making his way down pit lane now. They've reached the halfway point with lap 10. Coming in, throwing a fresh set of rubber on. Philly also choosing the pit. A bit of a traffic jam as Doggy went to go out and around. Swerving to avoid car ahead. Are ghosted once they're in pit lane, saying what's your faster speed indicators for pit lane. Got Vortex back up into P2. It's only after we saw Coco and Philly both serve their mandatory pit. Tender also moves up into position 3, and Dirty's giving him a good solid fight door to door. Not sure if that was contact between the two. Race leader Sami's now heading up into the pits. Vortex also following. Coco closely behind. Philly takes the race lead. Sami and Vortex in the pits. Fender in P2. Jeffries, Maz Engineering for Coco. Coco starting to pull away from Philly again now. Those tyres starting to get back up the temp from the pit stop. Last lap, about half a second quicker. So it's past the halfway point. We'll look at current standings. We have Doggy Daddy in P11. Gallon in 10th. Daddy Monkey Pretender just heading in the pits now. DK's in 9th. Big Cliff running 8th. Vortex in 7th. There's some changes here. Okay, Billy and Vortex. That's Pretender and Dirty are in the pits. Back a couple of spots now. Now, Dirty Monkey in 7th, Pretender in 6th, Vortex now P5, Billy P4, Polka Dog P3, Sami P2, race lead is Head Farmer, but he has not yet pit. He's 5.4 seconds away from Sami. Probably see him drop down to about around the 8th position mark by the time he heads off into the pits. It's about 35 seconds to 40 seconds to be able to make the journey down pit lane. To stay out on track. Quickly closing that gap in as well. Lee and Coco still sitting very close. Coming up to some lap traffic. That's Doggy Daddy. We're now coming up to P11. Stays out wide to let them through. Don't lose too much pace. And leaving his pit, Sami makes the pass on Head Farmer. Getting a lap time for lap 13 of 1:27.855. Still running a nice load of fuel. See those lap times start to drop down as we get towards the back end of the race. As the car becomes lighter and those track temps are going to be very optimal. And Farmer now coming into the pits. Krakow put some good gap over Philly through that hairpin. Is really nailing that corner. fantastic pass. Getting around Vortex through the hairpin. Usually a lot of drivers' weaknesses, so if you can really nail those corners, then you can have an advantage over a lot of other drivers. Oh, Vortex in a spin, but he gets it under control. He's only lost a bit of pace. He's a few seconds behind position 3. He's got a fair bit of a safety net. About 17 seconds he's got between himself and Dirty Monkey. Cliff in 6th position, holding 3rd in the championship, having DK Gallen drop back down towards the back end and try and finish ahead of him. He's got DK starting to close in on him. He's also got Vortex, who's very close to the championship points. Vortex currently running in 4th. Doing well as he did swap over divisions, so he had to come in with 0 points at the division change. For him to be moving up towards the top end of the championship ladder is doing fantastic to have missed a round. Looking to get the run of Nick Cliff. He's going to have the advantage of the inside line here, but I think he may have to yield and give that track position. He gives that nice and easy without much fight. Lap 16, Sami's leading the way. And we good for that gap in the championship lead. Getting ready to come into the final round next week at Bathurst. It's going to be interesting seeing them all do it. Final round at Bathurst. It is a lot of drivers' forte. Philly looking for an opening for Coco. He dropped off a lot of speed. Oh, but then Philly gets into a spin. He saved the car before he hits wall. He's done some wall contact. That's disastrous to only be a few laps from the finish. He's definitely looking for a podium spot. Shouldn't be getting too light, but I think he's fared okay damage-wise. They very well have put him off any rhythm. Actually being 17 laps in now. The benefit for Vortex here. Proud to have that spot on the podium. So getting a fair bit of spacing going on between the drivers now. Army having a huge 12.7 second lead over P2. Philly spin, Coco P2 now leading ahead of P3 by 6 seconds. Both Coco and Vortex, very similar lap times at current pace. But maybe hard for Vortex to try and round that in those next few laps, unless there's a mistake done by Coco. He's got a nice 14-second safety net between himself and Dirty in P5. He's got DK really hunting down at the moment. He's been making his way up through the rungs here. Saying that back towards the end of the field. Actually, I think he did get down into 11th position. Climbed his way back up into P6. He's only 2 seconds away from P5. Having passed Mick, starting to pull away pretty quickly. He's got a few second gap between the two now. Hey, Balaki, to jumping on the straight. Covered up into 8th position after the off. Not sure what happened. The off, but he was running in position 2. Saw him with a heavy amount of damage, and then at the back of the field. Oh, Head Farmer, big spin. Oh, narrowly avoids that tyre wall. Could not have fit a sheet of paper in between that. That was super close. Perfect pirouette along that tyre wall. We've got those time penalties. Vortex wearing 7 seconds. We've got some hefty time penalties actually. 5 seconds to the Pretender. Head Farmer 13 seconds, and Doggy Daddy taking 6 seconds. There's been some speeding in pit lane and multiple track limits being exceeded. We just had another driver drop out. Looks like someone's retired. Maybe Dirty Monkey. He was doing well. Dirty Monkey was in behind DK. Oh, DK's just taken some fresh damage. The front bar's barely hanging on. So 7 seconds post-race time penalty for Vortex. It's going to hurt pretty bad with Philly now only 3 seconds behind. Adds a very lovely safety net to Coco Dog. There you are, white flag's being waved. He's now on the last lap. And Dirty Monkey has retired, so he hasn't left the session. Just depending on how many laps back some of these cars further down the standings may be. He may be able to hold a position a bit higher by the time the race finishes. I'll see him jump down towards that back end. Head Farmer just ahead of Sami. Doesn't need to be worried about getting around. He's got a 16.5 second lead on the race. Sami be able to make it a clean sweep again tonight? Got lots of time to do a burnout across the line. What a race for Sami. Congratulations, solid effort. Great drive for Coco on the podium, takes P2. Vortex coming up for P3s, but he's got that 7 seconds and it's only 2 seconds between himself and Philly. Philly will move up onto the podium. Well done, Philly, taking P3. Vortex in 4th. Ample space between himself and Mick Cliffs. He's not going to lose another position. What's going to help with Mick staying nice and close to Vortex, so for championship points wise. Takes 5th. And even for Gallen, climb back up into position 6. Vortex, Mick, Gallen and DK are all going to be very close points wise. Things haven't gone their way tonight. But they all managed to be able to finish very close to each other. So good comeback by them all. Well done, Gal, taking 6th. 30 seconds to get these laps done. DK in 7th. Pretender not far behind in 8th. Head Farmer takes 9th. There we have it. Results for Division 1 at Sonoma Raceway GP. Sami takes victory. We'll scan down those times. The fastest lap of the race being a 1:26.922, and that's been done by Sami. So a clean sweep in a consecutive round for Sami. So it's going to be doing well coming into the final round next week. So well done to Sami tonight. And then also on the podium is Coco Dog in P2 and Philly in P3. The rest of the standings we have is Vortex, Mick Gallant, DK Rush, Pretender, Head Farmer, Doggy Daddy, and Dirty Monkey, who retired on lap 17, so that sees him back into position 11. So then we'll be bringing in our podium finishers. We'll have Sami, Coco, and Philly in here in a moment. Joining us very shortly now. We have our winner, Sami. Congratulations, another clean sweep, 2 in a row now.
Thanks, JT. It's yeah, nice to be back up there. So, car's working well at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to be hitting all those lines perfectly and some great pace. You pulled away very quickly at the start.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised actually. I don't know whether everyone else got a bad start or I just got off the line pretty quickly, but yeah, it was quite surprising, but I'll take it.
And solid run.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And congrats, Coco.
Yeah, thanks. It was a hard race. There was a lot of battles. Philly, yeah, I didn't really get much practice, but Az got me a good setup, and somehow managed to get second.
And car was handling nicely and a brilliant path down through the hairpin.
Yeah.
As well, taking Vortex, so it was very good. Even Philly trying to tuck in and take your line and sneak through as well. And he couldn't quite squeeze it through, but he nearly got there. It was fantastic to see.
Yeah. I think there was one lap there where I followed Coco round Gal, I think it was. I was like, oh, this is risky, but I'm going for it.
Just getting his line and sitting there.
I was going to go for a few passes on Coco, but then the track's so tight and I didn't want to wreck his race, so I was like, oh, I'll wait for him to make a mistake, and he just didn't end up making it. So it was a really good
and
race.
Actually, you two both got the same best lap too, 1:28.260.
Yeah, I think Sami got a 1:26.
Yeah, it was just, you guys were sitting pretty much on each other's tail for a good portion of the race until you had that little spin and
Yeah, I was I just pushed a little. I was like, I'll load him up here, and then I just hit the throttle, and that was it.
yeah, just hold
But,
on.
I thought I had it in the pits. I was like, come on. Ah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty
God.
lucky you took it pretty side on to the door, so you didn't do any wheel damage, so you could just keep that car going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't want to hit it front on because when you get front on damage and then it slows them right down. And I was a little bit off pace, but not much.
Yeah, and then managed to keep that gap between yourself and Vortex. That 7-second penalty cost him the spot on the podium.
Yeah, I was trying to what was I trying to do? I forget.
Trying to keep up with Coco.
Yeah. That's it, too focused on Coco's tail.
Yeah.
You'll be seeing more of it.
Well, we need to go and have a beer and a shower now. You in the
Yeah.
birthday bash, are you, Coco?
Yeah, I think Doggy put me in. We'll be in
Yeah.
there.
That
Should
should
be
be
good.
some good fun.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, congrats guys, and
Cool.
good luck
Cheers,
with
JT.
heading up
Congratulations,
into the
Sami.
final round next week.
Thanks, Coco.
Yeah.
Well done as well, mate. And to Philly.
Shout out to
Thanks,
Wira.
Sami.
He was
Thanks,
past all
Yeah.
week.
Thanks,
and
JT.
a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, that was
seeing
unfortunate,
The
but,
disconnect, no good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he certainly would have been up
Rooney
there, that's for
too,
sure.
so
Yeah.
I think he would have been up there battling is pretty hard. So.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was crazy.
Yeah, Blarkey said old age Phil there.
Oh,
Forget what you're doing.
old age. I'm not that old, mate.
Alright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
congrats,
All right, guys.
All right,
Yeah,
then.
thanks again,
you.
JT,
Thanks, JT,
for another
much
great
appreciated.
night.
Worries.
Yeah, mate. Too easy. See you.
Take it easy, boys. Congratulations.
Then we have our podium finishes with Sami taking the win in round 4, Coco Dog in 2nd, and Philly in 3rd. And we will be back again next week for the final. So it'll be some exciting racing to be able to see it finished off at Mount Panorama. So we'll check out our series screen. So Bathurst Mount Panorama being the final round, it's the big points up for grabs, so it's going to be the decider for the championship. Even with Sami's strong lead, anything could change if given penalties or any incidences. Races go any way at the mountain, so it is very critical and very much a race of attrition most of the time. So do stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit that follow button if you haven't done so. And of course, this week we've been supporting Veteran Gaming Australia, so raising awareness for their work with our veterans, and then also raising funds. So please head over to their website, veterangamingaustralia.com.au, and then also donate to their page from there. So you can do the .com.au/donate, and you'll be able to see just what your valuable contribution can go towards helping out with Veteran Gaming Australia. So we'll still be throwing up some stuff on our Facebook page and group. So if you're following that, there'll be plenty of info to be able to follow the links over to Veteran Gaming Australia there and make a donation. And of course, if you are a vet or have family or loved ones that are also veterans, do send them over that way and just see what they can do to actually get involved with their organisation. So thanks for tuning in. Very thankful to have you staying in for the stream and also for your donations towards VGA, and hope to see you trackside next time.